Hi everybody and welcome to today's vlog. Feel at home. We love to welcome new people. This channel is all about gaining information that will give you growth, and that growth will take you to greatness. All right, so you're in the right channel if that's what you're looking for. So on today's video, I am going to be discussing with you one or two group activity questions that may be given to you by an airline on an airline interview, and this goes on to different kinds of airlines. Could be Emirates, Etihad, Qatar, could be Delta, could be Frontier, could be any airline that you think of. Sometimes these airlines, they have group discussions or group activities, and they will give you questions that they want you guys to discuss so they can see a couple of skills that they look for on these group activities. So today's video, I'm going to discuss the most recent group activity that was asked by people who went for Emirates interview, I believe. And the question was, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Okay? All right. Now let's go to the question. I don't want this video to be long. So the question was, imagine you're a cabin crew or a flight attendant, and your captain or your pilot walks out from the cockpit carrying a cake, says it's his birthday, and is willing to share his cake with everybody. Discuss. So you're a cabin crew and your captain, your boss, walks out from the cockpit carrying a cake, and he says it's his birthday. And you're here thinking, wow, I'm sure his staff, he's carrying a cake. And you're thinking, it's his birthday. We will do that in a normal office, setup. But on board, is that allowed? So first thing first, before I even discuss these questions, I want to let you know that when you're applying for a position, when you're applying for a job, when you're applying for anything in life, and you really want to get that job, or you really want to get whatever opportunity you're looking for, you're really interested, and this is your dream, my best tip will be always research. Read more information about the company that you're hiring for, the rules and regulations of your role that you're applying for. What are the do's, what are the don'ts, what is allowed, what is not allowed, and stuff like that. So it's always good to be informed. So if you feel like the information that you're going to read is too much, I suggest stay here on this channel, because I am going to give you so many details. We're going to discuss so many group activity questions and scenarios that they give you guys, so that we can all try and understand all these aviation terminologies, rules and regulations, and what forth. So on this scenario, let me first tell you that any food that is served on board, any drink that is served on board, any snack that is served on board is or has to come from the galley. What is a galley? Now that's a new terminology. A galley is the kitchen in the plane. So there's a little space area that has, like, when you're going through, or when you're going to your seat, you'll always pass by a little galley in the middle aisle that has, like, it looks like cabinets, like it has like lockers and stuff like that, all that. So it's always locked, maybe when you're going to your seat, because cabin crew haven't started their service, so everything is all intact. And so that's what a galley is. So there's always in some planes, there's always a galley in front, in the middle, and at the back. And in some other planes, there's always a galley at the back of the plane and at the front. And in other planes, there's a galley in the middle and at the back. And if it's an A380, there's always a galley in so many other places. There are always galleys upstairs too for food. For passengers who are traveling business and first class, their food will definitely not come from the economy area. Their food will always be up there. So who prepares this food? It's the catering company that works for that company. So if it's, let's say, in Dubai, it's the Emirates Catering Group that prepares the food, and that food, when it's brought on board, it has to be accompanied by security, because they don't want anyone to tamper or try not interfere, or try do anything to the food. I lacked a proper English word to put there. That food has to be as it came from the kitchen in that catering company. It should be transported to the plane, loaded safely, following the safety and procedures of catering department and what they're supposed to do, if it's wearing gloves and all that stuff, how they put the food and where it's supposed to be. If it's a cold food, they have to be put in somewhere that is cold, maybe in the fridge, or if it's warm food, they have to be placed somewhere, and stuff like that. Like, there's so much details when it comes to loading the food and the preparation of the food and how it's packaged. So in the process of bringing it to the plane, when they are preparing it in the kitchen, they always have a number of the food that they are going to prepare. For instance, they'll say, we are preparing 100 seafood, we are preparing 50 vegetarian food or plates, and then, or probably they are going to prepare, let's say, 250 plates of chicken and stuff like that. And if there's any snack like pizza or any snack like ice cream and stuff like that, everything is always documented. So in the catering company, when they're preparing the food, they are always documenting. And the final documentation that will go through the catering department is the same document that is going to be brought to the plane, presented to the flight attendant who is working on the galley, to make sure that what they have on the paper is what they have in the plane. So for instance, if it says we have on the paper, let's say it says they have, let's say, 50 seafood, the crew is going to make sure they have 50 seafood, because they don't want to, there's always something to do with integrity when you're working for an airline. The numbers have to match, because if they don't match, then the security breach. There has to be, the numbers have to match. All right, so we're trying to analyze this situation. I'm trying to give you the rules and regulations, and then we're going to go and answer your question. All right, so everything has to match. So that paper, the food will be accompanied by the documentation that matches this food, that will be presented to the flight attendant, and the flight attendant is going to make sure that what is on paper is actually what they got. If there is any shortage of, let's say, seafood, they're going to say, oh, you guys said we have 50, but I can see 49. They're going to correct it there and then. And it has to go through a signature or something. It has to go through like a process for it to be, documented that this is actually what they got. All right. So when that is done, the catering and the safety and the security, they are going to lock each and every cabinet or tray that is in the galley for safety when the passengers are walking in, because they don't want anyone to tamper with the food. Why do they do that? Because they are avoiding things like food poisoning. They're avoiding things like someone trying to interfere or mishandle the food that is going to cause a problem to the passengers. Remember, when you are on board, working as a cabin crew is not the same as ground staff. When anyone is sick, whether your staff or passenger, if you're on sick and you're in the plane, like at the airport, you can easily go to the hospital. When you're up there working as a cabin crew, either your fellow colleagues or passenger falls sick, it's a whole other story, because they definitely have to do, cabin crew are always trained to do things like first aid and stuff like that. They know what medication to give you for what cases, and there are things that they can also not handle. So what do they do when in instances where they cannot handle certain situations? They do an emergency landing. All right, so when they do that emergency landing, of course it's going to interrupt everybody's arrival timing. It's going to interrupt, there's so much interruption. They're going to do an emergency call to the nearest airport so that they can land. So they are also interfering with whatever that was happening in that airport, because they have to give way to an emergency landing so that they can save a passenger. So there is a whole lot, and that's why safety and security is up here. If you really want to work in an airline, just know that your number one top priority is safety and security, because you might think someone else might eat that food. How about think about how that situation is going to affect you as staff, and is also going to affect other passengers. Okay, and that's the reason why safety and security is key when they are bringing this food. So once they lock every door or every cabinet that they are going to store the food, they will lock it, and it's only going to be opened on the service time. When service starts, that's when they're going to open it, warm the food if there's anything to be warmed, or plate the food if there's anything to be plated, and stuff like that. So now let's come back to this scenario where the captain or the pilot brings a cake and wants to share it with everybody. Now, trying to answer from what I've given you, is this cake from the galley? No. Is this cake prepared by the catering group or the catering company? No. Where is the cake from? From the cockpit. Who brought it? It's the captain. Yes, he is a staff, but do you really know his motive? Can you tell someone's motive? Can you, are you a psychic to tell what they're thinking? Because they're also human, and you never know who he talks to. You never know what the plan is. We've had stories, or we've watched movies where captains or pilots are involved in things that I don't want to mention. So you don't know what his motive is. So if he's bringing a cake from the cockpit, then even let's say he has a right motive. How about food poisoning? Maybe that cake has expired because it stayed in the cockpit. How long do we know when he bought that cake? Was it in the right temperature? Was it put in the right temperature? Whoever prepared it, did they also have a motive to do something to the captain? All these things have to be put in consideration. So when you're really interested in this position, you really have to learn what is allowed and what is not allowed. So when they give you these activities, you have a basic idea of, wait a minute, I read somewhere that the food that is given to the passengers comes from catering. Where is this cake coming from? And stuff like that. So if you have that idea in your mind, when they give you this idea, you will be able to share it with your group and say, hey guys, I like what you guys are thinking. It's his birthday and he's a staff. He might not have any bad motive. But how about, I know for a fact, or I read somewhere that any food served on board has to be prepared by the catering. How do we know if this cake is expired? Was it in the right temperature? Bring these facts to your team. Talk it out. Bring facts. Remember, these interviews are always going round. So if you bring this kind of strong points, they will note your number down, because they know you know what you're talking about. You've done your research. You're a smart girl, or a smart boy, or a smart man, smart lady. Happy International Women's Day, by the way. It's today. I'm sorry. Happy International Women's Day. So yeah, how do you know if that cake is suitable or is good for consumption at that time? Maybe, or this is another thing, you can share it with the passengers. Maybe there is a passenger who's allergic to eggs, or who's a lactose intolerance. What? Lactose intolerance? Lactose intolerance? Yeah, maybe they don't take any milk. Do you see where I'm going? Like, it opens you up to, like, ideas that you would never imagine. But those are also options. You might share it with your colleagues and some of them might just take it because it's the captain's birthday and you want to, you want to celebrate with the other. You don't want to be a party pooper. You eat that cake and boom, half of the flight attendants are sick. They're there vomiting, they're there running in the bathroom, they're sick, and half of you are there wondering, oh my God, what just happened? Or half of the plane is there like screaming, they're scratching because they have like allergies of maybe ingredients that prepared the cake and stuff like that. So I hope that opened up your mind, and it has given you an idea or a clue of how to answer these group discussions. So if you try answer them with facts or information that you know that this is a tricky question, because most people will always say, let's cut the cake and share it. It's the captain's birthday. I mean, he's a staff. I don't think he will have any bad motive or any bad intentions or anything. Just think broadly. So I already see we are at minute 16. I intended to do two questions, but this video is already too long. I will come back to you with another video of another group activity question that they might ask you, so we can discuss it together. Okay? All right. Until next time, guys, don't forget to like, share, comment, and above all, by the way, guys, let me tell you, watch the adverts. Yeah, that gets me paid. So it motivates me to come here and give you more information, because I know at least I have $1 coming in that I can buy some water and quench my thirst when I'm giving you all this information. And there's a super thank love thingy down here on my profile. If you click on it, you can celebrate your girl by sending her a little bit of some thanks, and it will really come a long way, and I will really appreciate it. But if you really don't have the show money, if you just watch my adverts, don't skip any adverts, that will also make me really, really happy. Thank you, guys, and until next time, bye bye.